For some reason I decided, hey, let's try game dev. I just didn't realise how much stress comes with it. This video is going to go over my experience with the first game I made, Flappy Bird. And, surprisingly, how much there is to learn from it. Without wasting any more time, let's start. I started with this video by GameMaker's toolkit on making Flappy Bird. I just didn't expect all the work and pain that came after the video. This is what I got after finishing the video. As you can see, there are a lot of problems, like how if the bird falls without hitting a pipe, the game just goes on. And how you can't really quit the game. Now, most of these issues were mentioned in their video, and we were given a small challenge to fix them. As you can see.
But the game isn't quite finished yet. There's still a few more things to figure out, though I don't want to tell you how to do everything. So I'm going to give you some suggestions for how to finish up the game, but I want you to try and figure it out for yourself. So first of all, we need to have a game over if the bird goes off the screen. That shouldn't be too hard. There's also a bug where the score can go up even after a game over. Try to solve that one too. We also want sound effects. I want you to add an audio source component to the Logic Manager, fill it with a sound effect file, reference it on the script, and have it play when the score goes up. Then I want you to play around with the particle system to make clouds appear in the game. Next, open the animation window and add some flapping wings to the bird. Then I want you to add another scene to make a title screen, so the game doesn't immediately launch into the action. Here's a clue. You'll need to add this new scene to the build settings window. And finally, if you want a real challenge, use player prefs to save the player's high score to the hard drive and draw that on the UI as well.
Now, the first thing I tried to do was the particles for the clouds, as you can see. When I first opened the particles system, I was completely lost, not gonna lie. I had to watch a short YouTube video by Bud Games. Following the tutorial, I was able to get the basics down, like making it display the clouds and making some small adjustments here and there. My first big problem I encountered was when I first placed the cloud sprite. I faced a small problem with the renderer, where the material was on default particle material, which placed this white background behind the clouds. This took me an hour to fix. First, I went to Google, but the issues there sounded similar, but different from mine. I eventually just asked ChatGPT, and lo and behold, it had the answer. I had a bunch of other issues with this thing, like the fact the clouds appeared in front of the player, which I fixed by moving the clouds behind the bird in 3D view, since the whole putting them on their own layer thing didn't work for me. Next was what was supposed to be wings. I tried placing them in the hierarchy, and it spawned behind the bird. I tried changing the position in the hierarchy before making it a new prefab, but that didn't work for me for some reason. I was probably doing something wrong. I tried seeing if I could make a new object to hold them, but it kept spawning under the bird object, which at this point I realised it makes a lot of sense. So I gave up on that, and the wings are now a tail. Now then, that evil animator. This thing was truly hell, but to be fair, I should have just watched a tutorial. As you can see, I have a basic Flappy. I mean, moving animation going on here, and to achieve this took a lot out of me. And all it's doing is switching between the two wing game objects. Let me see if I can redo it. Let's remove these two, then add property, find the two wing objects, and look for the is active property, and press the plus button. When you change something, like making one of the wings inactive, the action gets added to the animation timeline thing, as you can see. Just know, at this point, I have no clue what I'm doing, and I'm just moving things around. This is kind of what I want, but not really. Feels like it gets stuck on the down wing for too long. Well, whatever. Let's just go back to what works, because I really don't understand this thing. Oops. Not this one. There we go. Oh right, you can move this last one to make the animation shorter. Now, I needed to do the quit button, but I needed a main menu first, so I made this following a tutorial by Rehope Games. This is how it looks in game view. I took the Cloud Particles game object and copied it to this scene to see if I could make the background work, and surprisingly enough, it worked. Here's how it looks with the clouds. As you can see, on the menu we have play, options, and quit buttons. To get these buttons working, I needed to code some logic, so I made an empty game object and did some coding. For the play button, I made a function that loads the game scene when called. This function loads a scene based on its index, in this case, 1. This index number is based on its position in the build settings. As you can see, level 1 is the scene for the game with index 1, and main menu scene is 0. We call the main menu in the same way. The quit game function quits the game using the quit function under the application class, which terminates the game. Next up was audio. For audio, I watched another video by Rehope Games. I found this flap sound on the internet and this masterpiece of a song on the Unity Asset Store. It's by Monsieur Fred on the Unity Asset Store. For this, I basically needed to make an audio manager with 2 child game objects that have the audio source component for both music and SFX. The audio from both can be heard through the main camera since it has the audio listener component. Now for the code. Basically, we have our audio clips and audio sources. Audio sources are basically where the audio comes out from, and the audio clip is basically the audio file being passed to the source. We have 3 clips, one for background music, Death SFX, and Flapping SFX. Then we have the start function. Any code in this function will run when the app starts. This is how the background music starts as soon as the game runs. We have music source, which is the audio source that plays the music. We then have the .clip, which is just specifying that we are accessing the clip parameter of the music audio source. And then we equate it to the background clip, aka our background music audio clip. And music source.play just plays whatever clip is in the audio source. This means that the music source will play whatever audio clip is in background. And in this case, as you can see, that is the Joyful Journey clip. The PlaySFX function takes in an audio clip and plays it once through the SFX audio source. If we go to the bird script, you see that I set it up so that whenever the player hits space, we go into the Audio Manager class, get the PlaySFX function, and pass in the flapping audio clip, so it plays every time the player presses the spacebar. As you can see here, and we basically do the same for the death sound, which plays when the player collides with a pipe. For the music, I basically had to make an audio mixer, which I won't go over the details of, because I'm tired of writing. But basically here we have the slider for the music and SFX. Music slider works. Getting the SFX slider to work though took longer, because my brain decided to forget how coding works. But basically, the slider works by manipulating the volume value of the slider, since both are floats. The volume variable takes in the float value of the slider, and that is then passed to the volume value of the audio mixer, in this case, specifically the music one. Now, watch as I struggle to make one for the SFX slider, because my brain decided to forget how everything works. Now I wonder why it's not working. How interesting. Yes, you really did make a parameter for SFX. You're not crazy. Why are you checking again? I never knew I was this blind. It's right there, man. Don't make another one. Well, I guess that's something. I wonder why it's not working now, and why is the music slider moving both now? Finally decided to just watch the full tutorial after all that, which also went over how to save player information. In this case, the volume value. PlayerPrefs creates a file on the computer and stores the volume slider value with a key to identify it. And the load function gets the saved volume value from PlayerPrefs based on the key and gives it to the slider value and calls the setVolume function. In the start function, we make it so that the volume settings are retrieved when the app starts if the key music volume exists. Else, we call the setVolume function to start with the default values. Now, the game should remember the value of the music setting before the game was closed, as you can see. Now, let's hopefully fix that SFX slider. Oh, he finally got it. Now, to get the high score working here, I'm just trying to set the UI up, and it's also how I learned the difference between Text and TextMesh Pro. TextMesh Pro is not compatible with Text, so it didn't work when I tried to drag it over, so I changed it to Text. The way this works is that it stores the high score in PlayerPrefs, and only updates the score in PlayerPrefs when it's smaller than the player's current score. Then we get the value from PlayerPrefs and display it using the text field. Then we just call the checkHighScore function when the game starts, and whenever the score increases to update it live. So here we have the full game. Starts with the main menu, options with the volume sliders. Look to be working. High score is also working. And finally, the quit button. And we are done. Sorry for the TTS. I don't have a mic, so this was the next best thing. I tried to pick one that doesn't sound like the TTS you encounter while scrolling through YouTube shorts. I may have explained some things wrong, so feel free to correct me in the comments. The game is available on my itch.io page. It's the only thing on there right now. Link in the description and comments section. There is a version for mobile, but let's just say the UI is not that good.